I'm Andy Contaglia, your corporate casual Denver-based business attorney, bringing you the Don't Skip the Legal podcast, where you can listen in on the real stories, the real stakes, and the real legal lessons from real business owners just like you. These behind-the-door conversations about business are instrumental to your success. This is where the deals are made, negotiations are discussed, and company problems are identified, leading you to overcoming the challenges we all face in our business. This podcast is your invitation to where the real business happens, and also where the best ideas take place. So let's get behind the doors in business and break down these legal lessons. And overall, remember, don't skip the legal. Welcome to the Still Unnamed Yet podcast. Don't skip the legal. We're here with Cait Crowell. Tell everybody what you do and sort of a little bit of background in your business.
I'm a holistic nutritionist. I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner of my BS in global public health and nutrition from my undergrad degree. I've gone through multiple different certification programs. I've gone through multiple iterations of business, as we'll get into today. And pretty much what I do now is I help people get to the root cause of complex chronic health issues, mostly digestive issues, hormonal imbalances, issues with like chronic inflammatory things like Lyme, co-infections, mold illness, more like stealth infections. Over time, niched out into some unique sets of issues that people are having health-wise, but I also love entrepreneurship, help other people with their businesses, and have had chapters of influence marketing, and it's been a wild journey.
Well, it's a broad spectrum in terms of nutrition. There's a lot going on. Yeah. So my joke, my remark about you decluttering people's bodies is not too far off.
No.
It's like somebody coming in and being able to say, here are the problems going on in your body. Here's what you need to do to sort of fix the elements of your body so you can live a healthier life, much like somebody who comes in to declutter your life.
Yeah.
Like get rid of all the shit that's in your life and get rid of these problems. Life coaching, you doing sort of nutrition coaching is very sort of akin to that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So how do you get involved in, you touched briefly on your education and everything like that. And I think that's all absolutely wonderful stuff. But how do you get into being a nutritional therapist or a nutritional coach, however you really want to define that? How did you decide that was the proper path for you?
Ooh, good question. I think it was through like process of elimination. I think there's a lot of people who go into business or are passionate about something and think like you have to have it figured out before you start, but you kind of have to start before you figure it out. I kind of experienced that in the opposite way as most people would think about it. But for me personally, when I went into college, I was undecided. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted to help people. And yeah, I was like running track and just kind of like partying my face off and goofing off through college and was like, I just want to help people. But I ended up taking a few prerequisite classes in global public health, which focuses on the health of populations in developing countries. So public health for large populations and areas of the world that need simple global life-saving solutions. And so I took an intro class to that covered some of my gen eds, but also kind of gave me a taste of potentially some of the things I was interested in. I fell in love with it. And I had a lot of professors who were MPHs, Masters in Public Health, which is usually field work. It's not so much research oriented in the public health space, but like you're out there, you're traveling, you're working in the field, you're doing things hands-on with these people, and you're traveling to these developing countries. And I have a huge adventure bug. And I was like, man, this is awesome. Like, I think this is something that I want to do. And so I went and traveled to Bangladesh by myself when I was 20, spent a summer living in Bangladesh in Dhaka and worked at an international research hospital. And at the time in college, I was minoring in nutrition, and I was also dealing with all these crazy health issues myself with like digestive issues, panic attacks, anxiety, IBS. I had all these weird diagnoses that like just didn't really have an answer. That was like, you have an irritable bowel, like freaking great. Like, why do I have an irritable bowel and why is it inflamed and what's driving that? I had all these questions. And so at the same time that I was going to Bangladesh and kind of witnessing nutrition function in this acute setting, because we'd have people, young kids and adults wheeled into the hospital that were going into, hypoglycemic shock and having seizures and, coming back within 20 minutes with just like a simple drip of glucose or like an oral rehydration solution. Like it was just a totally different spectrum of seeing nutrition function in this acute setting, where in the US, we just see it in this chronic setting. And I was going through these chronic issues myself. And so at the same time, while I was in Bangladesh, I was kind of asking all these questions about like, what does real nutrition look like? What does it really look like to get to the root of health issues for myself, for other people? And when I was in Bangladesh, I was living with all these doctors from Johns Hopkins and researchers that were, way up to the top of their field in the MPH world, which was what I thought I wanted to do. And when I was there, it was like, oh shit, like there's this whole other piece of like preventative support, dealing with things in the moment. Like nutrition had this ability in my mind, and what I experienced and what I realized I was passionate about was that it could be woven into any part of someone's healing journey, whether it was like an acute hypoglycemic issue, like nutrition is a part of that. If it's a chronic gut issue or autoimmune issue, nutrition is a part of that. There's no way to escape the fact that nutrition is a huge piece of anybody's journey in living their most optimal life and achieving optimal health. So when I came back from Bangladesh, that's when I was like, shit, how do I do this in a way that feels authentic to the things that I've seen? Mm-hmm. And then, looked at the RD program, just didn't jive with that because there was so much red tape sponsored by FDA, USDA, just felt like it was regulated in a way that I just didn't really agree with. And then went the route of the Nutritional Therapy Association, and the rest is history, 6 years into business.
So help me understand exactly how, it's clear that you have a passion for what you do. And this passion in the work that you're doing today really originated from events in your college years, your youth as a young adult and sort of growing up and moving into this. But how, in your mind, tell us a little bit about how that idea of, world health, watching and observing and interacting with people in other countries triggered you to say, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to live my life. This is where I want to grow my business. This is where, or even start my business at this stage. How does that manifest itself into you? And how does it trigger you and catalyze you into saying, this is what I want to do? Yes, I want to help people. Everybody wants to help people. I think that there's a lot of information available to us, and we all want to be able to, reach out and help one another. But you decided that this path was a greater path for you, and you wanted it to be your lifestyle. You wanted to take your passion and turn it into work or business. Yeah. How did that change for you? How did that happen?
Yeah, I think like what drives me most of the time, well, I would say all the time, and I actually wrote this in like a scholarship that I ended up getting when I went to Bangladesh. But I remember I was like, man, like sometimes you write things and you're like, that's a fucking good thing to write down. I was like, so proud of myself of this little comment that I made, and it sticks with me.
Stay humble, Cait. Stay humble.
But I was like, this is exactly how I feel. But the thing that really lights me up, and has since, this time in Bangladesh, was that, and I had experienced these things myself, right? I think sometimes when we lean into the things that we're passionate about, whether it's a hobby or we turn it into a career or whatever we do with it, it's because we've been deeply affected by something and we've found a way out, and we want to help other people through that too. And so that's a huge part of my why behind what I do. But the biggest why and the underlying why behind everything, and it hit me when I was in Bangladesh, was that I think that we're all here on this earth for a specific reason. I don't know what your reason is, and I'm still figuring out what my reason is, but I'd like to think that passionately pursuing what I'm doing is what is set before me. But what gets in the way of that oftentimes for a lot of people is that they don't have the type of health to feel vibrant enough, to have enough energy to get through their day, to connect with people the way that they want to actually live out their purpose. And so one thing that I feel called to helping people with, and pulled myself out of these spaces with health issues over the years, is like, if I'm not feeling energized, I don't feel good, I'm going through my day brain fogged, my gut's all effed up, and like I'm full of anxiety, like I'm not living to the fullest expression of myself that I think I'm genuinely called to.
Right.
So there's an element of like, okay, I've felt that pain and what it feels like to go through those things. And I've also watched my body heal, and I know what it's capable of. And I know we are all born with this innate intelligence within our body, however you want to refer to that, God, universe, whatever, that our bodies are designed to heal. And if we create the right environment for them to do that, then we are stepping into this experience of life where we feel great, we're energized, we're excited to help other people, and then we can go off and do what we really want to do. And so there's an element for me that feels, definitely like spiritual purpose of wanting to help people feel good enough so that they can go do the things that they want to do with their lives in the way that they want to do it, and pursue their own passions in their own way. And if we're not healthy, we can't do that. If you don't have your health, you have nothing.
Right. And I want to sort of juxtapose sort of my origin story into becoming an attorney against your passion-led business. For me, I'm twice your age. My generation coming out of college and law school in the mid 90s, our attitudes were a lot different. We're the kids of the baby boomers, and our parents were go become a doctor, go become a lawyer, go do these things that other people in our family have done, go bring honor to the family and things like that.
Yeah.
Your generation is a lot different in terms of pursuing passion, in terms of being able to take what you love and turning it into something that is, that turns it, that helps your lifestyle, but also helps your business and helps you and gives you an opportunity to actually grow within an industry that you can ultimately find value in.
Right.
And I don't mean just value from the proverbial, oh, my heart feels really good, but the proverbial, it puts money in your pocket. And I think, your path and my path have been much different. But what I really like is, how does this event in your life transition into, I'm going to start an LLC. I am going to register with the Secretary of State. I am going to monetize my passion, and I am going to put money in my pocket, because at the end of the day, as much wonder and joy and passion and happiness we bring to people, your landlord, your mortgage payment doesn't take those things as payment. So we still have an obligation to still make money.
Yep.
How does your passion transition into starting your business?
Yes. Well, some background on that, I guess a little bit, which kind of gives me a leg up just from privilege of my own life that I'm just grateful for. But, I think the privilege and hard work get woven together, and that's how you get to where you're at. You were all privileged in some kind of way, no matter who we are. And so I grew up with a father who was raised by a single mom that was working multiple jobs to, raise my dad and his two brothers. And my dad, because of that, I think, and his story and his journey, was very resourceful and ended up building his own business. And I watched my dad build his own business and his own company as a financial advisor. And so I always had this I can kind of do whatever I want. And I was told that as a kid, if you want to work hard enough and create your own thing, you can. And so I grew up in a very entrepreneurial household. My dad was also in the military before I was born for 8 years. So just really rough and tough, gritty type of upbringing. And so I think going into the world as an adult with the experiences that I had had and the influences from my father and my family and friends and just people that I ended up being surrounded by as I was growing up, it just kind of put this idea in my mind of I can make my life whatever I want if I'm willing to work hard enough and take advantage of the resources and the opportunities that I have. And so I think when I was going into college, I kind of always had this, I don't know, I'm a very observant, very deep thinker. I have been since I was a kid. I look back through journals when I was young and I'm geez, why was I thinking about this shit as a 12-year-old or 13-year-old, just really deep thinker. And so I always just was reflective on the fact that there were a lot of people that were doing things that didn't light them up. And it's why spend so much of your time doing something that you don't like? So I think there's a lot of these different influences that laid into, I knew that when I was going to be working that I didn't want to work for someone else. I hate working for other people.
But why was that important to you?
Let's take a moment to acknowledge the importance of legal knowledge in the business world. Legal issues can be a minefield, but they don't have to be. That's why I am thrilled to introduce you to a resource that will be your guiding light through these challenges. Get ready to discover the ultimate legal companion for entrepreneurs. I am excited to introduce you to Don't Skip the Legal, the startup guide for entrepreneurs and business owners, your ultimate companion for conquering the legal challenges of entrepreneurship. It is authored by me, Andy Contaguglia, a seasoned business lawyer based here in Denver, Colorado. This book is your roadmap to navigating the legal landscape with confidence. Inside, you'll find valuable insights on choosing the right business entity, understanding fiduciary duties, tackling financing options, hiring employees, and even nailing down the perfect business name and location. But that's not all. You can get your hands on this essential guide in both Kindle and paperback form, making it super convenient for you. If you're ready to empower your business with knowledge, head over to Amazon, head over to Kindle, and grab your copy of Don't Skip the Legal today. For more details and updates, visit don'tskipthelegal.com, and don't let the legal hold you back in succeeding in business. With Don't Skip the Legal, the startup guide for entrepreneurs and business owners, you can take your business to new heights. Available on Amazon and Kindle. Now let's get back to the pod.
I don't know, because I just knew that I was miserable working for other people. I mean, why do you have your own business? We're both hardwired in that way.
Yes, I will.
Like,
this is my interview, not yours.
I'm just saying we're making it conversational. There's an element of like, I think some people are hardwired and have the personality type and the strengths and the gifts to be a really great supportive role in another company. Like the girls that work with me, like I'm so grateful that they're hardwired the way that they are. I get to provide them with a job that they absolutely love and unending ability to make great money. And I get to put my head on the chopping block and take the brunt of everything that we're doing and like put the team on my back and run with entrepreneurial chaos because that's what I love. So there's an element of, I think, knowing yourself really well in what you're doing. And that took me years to kind of figure out, like, what's my role in turning this thing that I'm passionate about into a business that is sustainable, makes me happy, works for me, doesn't run me into the ground, which is a constant balance. But I think I always knew that I wanted to have my own thing, do my own thing, pave my own path. I'm very outside the box. I don't like to do things the typical way. I like to be different and I like to call my own shots. I'm very much like a feeler and an empathetic person, and I'm not good with strong routines. I'm fucking late to everything. I'm like trying to be on time as much as I can. And I was 5 minutes late today, but I'm like, that's a win. That feels like on time to me because I'm usually like 10, 15 minutes late.
But for like me, it took me 15 years to decide that I wanted to work for myself. I mean, there were events in my life that forced me early on out of the gate as a young lawyer in the mid 90s that I wanted to go and start my own business and be my own, hang up my own shingle kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was a disaster for me. I hated it. I hated every moment of that 2 years. And I said, I can't do this. I need to go join a law firm. I need to go learn some of these ins and outs, the things I didn't like about collecting money and hustling clients and all those things. None of those things resonated with me at 25 years old.
Yeah.
And so, but for you, this is different. You're in it. You're in it to win it. I mean, you are at the age now that I was when I first entered the legal profession. And it was your world and I'll say strength in wanting to venture out on your own, I think is remarkable. But I was terrified doing it on my own. I felt like I had to do it out of no choice. How did you get over your fears? How did you get over your anxiety? And I don't mean like physical anxiety and things like that, but just like your fears of running a business and like, what's going to happen if this completely bombs, or what do I need to do to make sure this doesn't completely bomb?
Yeah. Geez. And we did, Stu and Andy, my husband, and we moved out here. Andy was actually one of the first people that we met when I moved out here within the first couple months, which is funny to reflect on. So you kind of watched me grow up the last, 6-7 years here, which is wild. But we moved out here from the DC area. We had saved up together $15,000. We were engaged. We were planning our wedding. We were getting married out in Colorado. We're both, from Michigan and Pennsylvania, went to college in DC. And I'm sharing this because we did have our backs against the wall, probably in a very different way than you did. And I also would like to say, to the end of like the pressures that you felt in starting your own business at the time in the 90s is very different than like the pressures and things I think that I have experienced going through 2017 till now. Like, that's a totally different era. Technology's through the roof.
Yep.
And this is a little blunt, but I'm kind of the thought that's like, if you can't fucking figure out how to get shit together now, like, I don't know who's going to help you figure out entrepreneurship, and maybe you're just not built for it. This is the easiest time to be an entrepreneur and work hard. If you're willing to put in the work and figure it out, there's YouTube videos for everything. There's people to connect with everything. So I think, again, back to the resourcefulness and believing in yourself is huge. But yeah, Stu and I moved out here with $15,000. He had job offers in DC when we left that were, over 6 figures, that we were like, great, we'll have over 6 figures. I can build my business while we get started. And we naively thought that we were going to move to Denver, and these interviews that he had out here were going to translate the same way that they did in DC, and they did not. And he got lowballed offers. I think the best offer that he got was like $35,000 a year and build from there. And it was just this corporate path that it was like, there's no way that we can live in Denver on a $35,000 a year salary with the two of us living downtown. And so I had always intended on starting my business, but I didn't know how. I didn't know where. I didn't know if it was going to be in person, if it was going to be online. There were all these things that were up in the air, and I had to figure it out. And so I think the biggest thing that drove me at that point in not failing and in putting it all together was like some of my strengths. I'm extroverted as hell. I'm happy to just, walk into your office and be like, hey, I think I want to start a business. Can you set up my LLC? Like that's
it's about what happened. Yeah, pretty much. You were working with a close friend of ours.
Yeah.
And I met you over at her office that one day when you were answering her phone.
Who's this guy?
Yeah, I know. Who's that guy? But, she vouched for me and we've been friends ever since, I think.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. She did. I was like, who's this goofy Italian dude? Oh, he's a lawyer. It's like, I've never met a lawyer before.
Really, in all those passings with your dad, he never introduced you to a lawyer?
I don't think so. I mean, I definitely heard about his lawyers and stuff.
We're harmless. We're harmless unless we're suing you. That's a whole different. That's a whole different.
That's true.
We're a little less friendly when you have something we want. That's right. Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, I think the things that drove me were just, I wanted to do my own thing in my own way. And I just felt like I had something to prove to myself. I didn't really have anything to prove to anyone else. And it was like, just wanted to see what I was capable of. I think I'm hardwired that way. I always have been, like competitive gymnastics, D1 track in college. There's just a part of me that's hardwired to like figure it out. And in terms of the fear, because I get that question a lot, like, how are you not afraid? Like, there's tons of other people in this business and the nutrition side of things that ask me that. And like, I was afraid. I was freaking terrified.
Well, I've spoken to many of your Instagram followers because you're very generous in throwing me out there when we encounter one another. And your people have called me up and I've talked to them and they're like, I don't know how she does it. How am I going to do this? I'm like, listen, there's a path to success here.
Yeah.
And proper guidance and proper methodology and doing the right things will get you there quicker and much safer than doing and not following those types of things. So here you are, you're getting past your fears, your insecurities. Was this just sort of a jump in with both feet and let's just see if we can get this done?
Yeah, it was kind of like, fuck it. Like, and if we move to Denver and we've got these 15, I mean, we budgeted for 6 months, which is like, I don't know that I could like stretch 15 grand across 6 months anymore at this point in life. We would if we had to.
Almost 5 years ago, though. But here you are, 5 years later.
6 years ago.
6 years ago.
Going into the 7th year of being here. But I mean, you figure it out. When you want something bad enough, you figure it out. At least I do. And I kind of don't really understand people who don't do that, I guess. My mind just doesn't work that way. So I think there's just an element of like, figure it out, fail, figure it out. I mean, like people talk about like fail forward and all this stuff. And it's really easy and fun to like talk about these things. It's easy for me to calmly sit here and be like, yeah, you just did it. Like it was terrifying and it was really hard. And,
hey, yo, what are you worried about? Just go do it. What's going to happen? Nothing.
Yeah, it was really rough. Like I would like to not go back and go do that stuff all over again. But I think one thing that kept me going was like when Stu and I were living in DC, we had a great network there. We went to college out there.
Right.
I was working at a restaurant, this really nice farm-to-table restaurant in DC. I was making like $4,000 a month just waitressing, which at that point was like great money straight out of college.
Yeah.
I had an amazing degree that I wasn't leveraging at the time. So I kind of had, in my mind when we moved out here, it was like, we have 6 months to figure it out. And one quote that always sticks in the back of my mind, and Stu had this on a sticky note all through college on every desk that he had in every dorm. It was a sticky note handwritten in his shitty little handwriting that said, you're always smart enough to figure it out. And that's something that is always in my mind. And it's something that was in my mind when we moved out here and we had $15K and like we thought Stu was going to get all of these jobs and he didn't. And he's like first in his class, student athlete, like MBA, like unbelievable. Who the hell is not going to hire him? And no one did. Yeah. And he started painting houses for $10 an hour and got an internship for $15 an hour. And it's like, you just do something, you just start somewhere. And so for me, like, I mean, the woman that Andy was talking about that we have, a colleague in common, a colleague of mine, I was going to her for support and for treatment with health issues and anxiety and some gastro stuff. She's been a pivotal role in like my own health journey, but I asked for a job. I was like, hey, I'm trying to build my business and like we're running out of money. Like, do you have anything that I can help you with?
Yeah.
And is there anyone you can introduce me to? And like, I had plenty of handshaking, awkward, uncomfortable conversations through those years. And even like first couple clients that I got, I remember being like, oh my God, these people want to work with me. and just like shaking and being like, hopefully my voice isn't shaking on this phone call with this client, but like we need it. And like, this is really what I want. So I think there's an element of like, you do it scared, you just do it. And then once you do it, you're like, ooh, fucking did that. And you like surprise yourself and then you keep doing it. And then it just becomes part of what you do. And I would say at this point, you know, going into my 6th year with everything, it's not necessarily that it gets easier. You just get better at the things that you used to be really bad at and used to really be afraid of. And like, there's still things that I'm afraid of, and there's still things that I'm not good at, and there's always something more. And there isn't like this clear formula with business. You just figure it out as you go.
Tell us about a time that you just felt like you were in over your head, that you felt like you were in complete hell. You were like,
which time?
Oh my God. Oh, good. There's more than one. Why did we do this? I mean, what was keeping you up at night at the early phases of your business? And what did you do to overcome this? I mean, I'll leave it up to you. I know that you have a history. You have a history of anxiety. You've been very open about your anxiety and what you've happened or what you've had to do to overcome your anxiety. And not just like, oh, I worry that I left the kettle on the stove, but like, fear, like covering your head in the middle of the day and wrapping yourself up in a blanket, not wanting to move for hours on end, if not days on end. That issue in your world, in your life. Smash that up against the entrepreneurial spirit,
death grip,
the proverbial trough of sorrow of entrepreneurship. Here you are. I mean, it seems like it could be sort of this never-ending cycle of worry, anxiety. I'm never going to succeed. And then another component of you going like, but I really want to succeed. And another part of you going like, no, you're not. Just stay under the covers today. I mean, how are you getting through this period of your life where you have forces pulling against each other? 100%. You have one that is telling you you're never going to do this and you can't live up to this. And another spirit telling you bullshit, let's go. How are you overcoming this?
You're choosing which one you want. I think a lot of it comes down to a choice, and it's not always easy and you don't always want to do it, but you just choose the thing that you know is right in the moment. I think we're all kind of hardwired with like what's right and what's wrong and what's going to be productive and what's not going to be productive. And like probably 80% of the time I would like to do the shit that's not productive, but I don't choose it because I know if I choose those things and I choose them too frequently, I'm really going to end up in a place that I don't want to be, whether that's like mentally, emotionally, or quite literally, like I'm not happy with my life and I'm not doing things that light me up. Usually when you get into the habit of creating the life that you want and running the kind of business that you want or doing anything that you want and dream of in your life is like you're creating new habits that you're consistently choosing the kind of person that you want to be and like what would that person be doing and what would that look like. And I don't know that I necessarily was like, oh, what kind of person do I want to be? And choices, like it's not that linear. I can say that now looking back at it, but I think it's just consistent, repetitive decisions in the direction that you would like to go and keeping up with those correct decisions, even when it's hard, even when you don't want to, even when it's not fun. The other thing too is like another thing I keep in the back of my head is like sometimes you don't need to quit. You just need to take a break. Sometimes you just need to like not fucking work for a week, or you need to take the weekend off and like throw your phone against a wall and like throw the middle fingers to it and like just take a break from everything because it is a lot. I mean, entrepreneurship, I've said this a handful of times to a bunch of different people, and I know you can resonate with this because you've been doing this longer than I have, but I feel like entrepreneurship is one of those things that it's so much more than just like building a business or having a dream or wanting to work hard. There's an element of like, part of you just likes to get your ass whooped and figure out if you have what it takes to some extent. And there's an element of...
Is that how you felt going through this?
Proving yourself to yourself, for sure. Because there's things that come up in business that's like, you know, and it's not just working with people or the practicalities of having a business, but it's all the back end emotional baggage and like the proverbial trough of sorrow that you're joking about. Like it will take you to those places that you kind of don't want to go that are like deep within yourself. That's like, are you going to look at this? What do you want to do about this? And in order to like move into those next levels of entrepreneurship, you kind of have to look your demons in the face and deal with it. If you want to keep moving forward, at least that's how I've kind of experienced some of these things with business is like, it's so much more than just like, oh, I help people with nutrition. Like, you know, entrepreneurship really has been every possible human emotion I can think of to the nth degree at one point or another. And it's really shaped like my character and who I am. And what I've proven to myself and what I think about myself. And, it's a confidence boost. It's the biggest ass whooping I've ever had. It's like the most joy that I've had. It's the most low lows I've ever had. It's like everything in between. And I think that's what we're supposed to experience as humans. And so there's an element of like humbleness to the entrepreneurial journey. But yeah, I mean, there's been multiple times that I'm like, fuck this. I'm not doing this anymore. I mean, I took like 8 months off of my business through 2020, which I had decided before the, pandemic and everything hit. I was like, I need a break. I was so burnt out.
I remember talking to you about it. I remember, I think we had a discussion about you just like, I just need a break. And it was, I mean, you have a solid Instagram following. And I remember you telling your people, guys, I'm taking a break. I'm out. Peace out. I'm gone for however long this takes. And I need to just sort of recharge my batteries and get everything together. But you used that time, I think, for not just recharging, but rebuilding.
100%.
And redirecting yourself and pivoting and really trying to redefine your business, your goals, what you wanted to accomplish in nutrition. So this wasn't just hey, I'm going to sit on my couch all day and sip bone broth and drink tea. This was real get down in the guts, figuratively and literally,
no pun intended,
of how you're going to reorganize yourself and redevelop your business and move it forward. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, during that time leading up, just for some background for people that don't know me, I, like Andy said, was doing a lot of influence marketing for the first couple of years of business. Again, my husband and I moved out to Denver. We knew one person. We knew one person that my husband had gone to high school with who happened to live out here. And, it was a rough time. And so, I mean, I was working through trying to figure out how to make money to contribute to this thing that like this pipe dream that we had of living out west, doing things differently. We didn't want to get stuck in like the proverbial rat race of, climbing the corporate ladder, which Stu and I both had a gut feeling if we stayed in DC, we would have gotten in that. We would have ended up feeling trapped at a young age and then like been too afraid to leave. So we were like, rip the Band-Aid off. Let's just do it now. Like, screw it. We have nothing to lose. And I'm so glad we did that, but it was very hard. So, I mean, when we were out here kind of working through everything, it just kind of brought me to this point that was like, we just have to figure everything out. And I ended up, again, working with somebody else on like commission for marketing and sales. I was kind of building my own brand, and influence marketing became a thing. And when I got into influence marketing, it was this thing that was like, you didn't know what a sponsored post was or what a sponsored post wasn't. There were no rules and regulations around it. It was like the Wild Wild West. It was awesome, by the way. I know Andy doesn't like to hear that because he's a lawyer.
The funny thing is,
awesome.
quick little segue here. The Federal Trade Commission just within the last 4 or 5 days put in a whole new set of regulations for commentary to go into place about influencer marketing, and a little piece, and I'll post some more stuff about this. But basically, the FTC is saying, like, even when you tag a company in a post, that's an endorsement. So if you're receiving anything, so every time that you're like
it all out
at whatever, pick your sponsor of whatever drink you're drinking at that moment, they are calling that an endorsement, and you have to be accurate in your dissemination. Everybody, we are all marketing. Yep, it's exactly it. So you have to be truthful in what you are promoting when it comes to those products, or you have to disclose that you're not being endorsed by that. So like you post something up and you go, hey, look, I'm wearing these awesome shoes, and you tag the shoe brand in your post. And if you're being paid, or if something was given to you for free or anything in that respect, you got to disclose that. Anyway, that's a quick little tidbit segue, but let's get back to what you were saying.
It just like cracks me up because in the first couple of years, you were like, Andy would DM me. You were like my Instagram police. And I was like, God, like, just leave me alone. But like, you always had my back, so I can't be too bad. And I've never had any legal issues. Knock on wood.
From Instagram.
Well, I haven't really had many other legal issues either.
We've had we've had some legal events.
We've gotten ahead of potential issues.
We have.
But I've never had.
No, you have not. And that is good because you have been
you're a great lawyer.
Preventative in your legal attitude. And, kudos to you. You always are running things by me before you do something.
You scare the shit out of me.
You're not supposed to be scared by what I'm telling you. You're supposed to be empowered by what I tell you.
I really tell my team, I'm like, my biggest fear is that I'm accidentally doing something illegal and I'm going to like end up in jail and be alone by myself with my own thoughts and like terrified. So anyway.
That's not going to happen. Nothing like that's going to happen.
Legal stuff, but...
So let's get back to you. So we're at this point in your story where you are, it's the beginning of COVID. It's mid 2020.
Yep.
You have shut your life off of Instagram. You are now refocusing, rebuilding, sort of, put yourself in a cocoon so you could take your little caterpillar self and metamorphose into a beautiful butterfly, into something like that. You like that visual? Is that what it is? Exactly.
This is where we're at. Yeah, I mean, well, in a nutshell, did a ton of influence marketing. I was trying to find ways to make money. That's how I was making the most money. And it was awesome. It was the Wild West. There were no rules. And then there started to be rules. And then I started to hate it because I hate rules and I want to do my own thing. And so I'm an entrepreneur, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, through COVID, let's see. I had actually, this was late February. I had signed a deal, the largest brand partnership deal that I had at that point. I had an agent that I was working with for a couple years, who's out of New York City, awesome guy, like negotiating all of my deals, and I was running things by you. Like we just had this great flow of influence brand partnerships, and I was making great money doing all this, and I was working with some nutrition clients.
Right.
But I was burning out. I was starting to feel like my purpose wasn't being met. I felt like I was a pawn. I felt like I was just this like pass-through marketing agency, and I ended up having like a schedule and like deadlines and all this shit from all these freaking companies and all these rules and all this say this and you can't say that. And I was like, fuck this. Like, this is not why I started my own business. I wanted to work when I wanted to work and do things how I want to do things.
Wait a minute. I am the talent. It's my schedule, not your schedule.
I was so pissed and I was so burnt out. And so I think it was like end of February of 2020. I had signed like a $20,000 deal for like 2 to 3 months with this large grocery chain.
Yep, I remember it well.
To do like one blog post a month and like one Instagram story. And like I was at the point where I was like, this is stupid. Like it just made me mad. And
no, what made you, what it
so
made
burnt out.
You were, but what made you mad about all of that? Because I remember this event in your world.
Reminded me.
I am going to remember. Here's what you didn't like. You didn't like the deadlines. You're a lot like me. I hate deadlines, and yet I live in a world of deadlines. I was going to say, how do you do
I
can't stand it. I'm forced. But much like you hated the deadlines.
I did.
And what you hated was, crap, I need to go pretend to like some apples and pick them up and do a blog post about them for this grocery chain. And it was one of these things where I think pressure is the wrong word, but the pressure of having to meet
100%.
Those deadlines
100%.
really frustrated you and cut against your creativity.
100%.
And I think that it became a component of what really sort of drew you away from wanting to even do that anymore.
100%. And I also didn't enjoy being in the limelight. I was going through all these other things in my own personal life, and I'm a very transparent person, but I was like, there's things that I don't want to share, but I felt bad that I wasn't sharing them, and I was going through a hard time. And then we had also met a lot of friends who were in this influence marketing sphere in Denver, and like, who I thought they were online, come to find out they're completely not in real life. And I was like, this is not the kind of like thing that I want to be associated with. So there was like multiple facets of this influence marketing world, from like my day to day, from a work standpoint, to the people that I was integrated with, to like what I really didn't like was the inauthenticity of having to write a blog post a month ahead of time that's going to go out next month, that I have to act like in the moment I'm actually doing that when I did it a month ago.
Right.
And then weaving that into my current day. It was just too much to keep track of. It felt inauthentic. I didn't enjoy the people that I was around. I didn't enjoy the work that I was doing. And I was like, I am better than this, and I have more to offer than just pawning out all of these products. And it just kind of got to the point where I was like, in over my head. I felt super overwhelmed, and like I was reflecting back multiple times on you bringing up at the beginning of like, Cait, you're going to have to pick one. You can't be a full-on nutrition business and be full-on influence marketing. You shouldn't half-ass two things. You should whole-ass one thing. And that's when I was like, tapped out. Right before I had signed this big contract in late February, I was like, told myself, and I think I told my husband this too. I was like, I'm done. Any other brand deal that comes in, I'm done. I'm not doing it. I'm going to focus on my nutrition business. And then that one came in and my husband was like, 20 grand for like a couple months of blog post, like just do it.
No, I mean, I agree with the business side of things. I'm like, what is it? I mean, this is 3 months out of your life to get 20 grand and, go experiment with it. And the commitment that you had in putting that together at this time was minimal. Yeah. You had the time available to do it.
Oh yeah, it was like no big deal.
Yeah, so do it, but you hated the experience, and you brought up or you used a very, I think, a real good word in your analysis of all of this, and that was authentic.
Yeah,
because your whole history and your whole story stems from authenticity.
Yeah,
with your time traveling in Bangladesh, through your time wanting to help people in nutrition, moving out here, everything that you did up to this point was authentic. How you built your following on Instagram was through Cait being Cait.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden you are thrust into this where you have to follow deadlines. You have to follow,
like, be a certain person.
Yeah. And you have to be a particular way. And you, in the process of this, as you mentioned, you're losing your authenticity.
For sure.
That, I think, is integral to, I think, those of us who are running businesses and not only understanding yourself, but being authentic to yourself.
Yeah. And I was young. I'm 29 now, but like I spent most of my 20s doing these like insane things. And there's an element of like, I don't have a ton in commmen with people my age. It's why like I freaking love hanging out with Andy. You're twice my age and you're like one of my best friends.
Almost twice your age, not quite.
Almost twice. But like a lot of our friends are older because they're just gone and we have more in common. Like it's just, for whatever reason, this is the path I chose. I love it. I wouldn't change anything. But like we just, my husband and I have just kind of gone through things really quickly at a young age, and it's been like quite the wild ride. But there was totally an element of, the inauthenticity was definitely, I would agree, it was the hardest thing. And I was like, I need to fully detach and get my head out of this space and remember who I am and what my values are and what I like and what I don't like and what I'm willing to do and what I'm not willing to do. The other thing too with influence marketing and sharing so much of your own life is like you become this persona, you become this character, you become this like highlight reel, and you become this character for other people. They have an expectation and they think that they know you. They don't know you.
That's right.
And
so
there's an element of like, I would meet people, they'd be like, oh, Cait, cool, I follow you, I know you. And then it was almost like, since they felt so close to me, they would go into these like really deep relationships and opening up. And it's like, I just met you. I don't feel comfortable actually talking about these things. So I had to kind of check like.
Well, that happened a couple times to you.
100%. 100% in real life. And I was like, cool, I can be friends with these people, but it's like, why does this person want to be so close to me so fast? Like, maybe a red flag in a friendship. And so there was a lot of things, not just online, but in real life, that all of this stuff impacted me in such an intense way. And I was like, I will say this is one thing, another just part of who I am as a person is I have a very strong moral compass, internal compass. And if I'm feeling something strongly and I don't listen to it, I am miserable. And so I've learned to just listen to that shit. I, view this as God being like, hey, Cait, maybe this direction instead of this direction that's making you miserable. And so in that time, I had felt for months like, I need to get off Instagram. I need to get off Instagram. I need to stop doing these projects, and I had all of these feelings and I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And it probably took me 6 months to pull it and that's the fear, right? The fear is like, well, what am I without this stuff? And what am I going to do with my day? And like, my husband's going to go to work all day and then I'm just by myself all day. Like, what am I going to work on? What am I going to do? But I knew that what I was doing, I couldn't keep doing because it was making me miserable. And the fear of the unknown was paled in comparison to the fear that I had of like, what does it look like if I just keep going against myself in this way? And so I had to pull the plug on it. And I strongly felt that I needed to fully detach from everything. I had been working my ass off in survival mode for like 4.5, 5 years straight since we had moved out here. Before we moved out here, no one called me Cait. Everyone called me Caitlin. I was Caitlin Everly, the pole vaulter from Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. Like I was not like Cait Crowell, student Cait, and she's a nutritionist. Like it was this whole other identity that I think that I hadn't like made peace with or knew if I liked it or knew if that's what I wanted. And so there was an element of, my own identity and finding myself too, where I just kind of got blinded in survival mode of like, I got to make money and we need to be successful so we can live. And there was a lot of authentic pieces of who I was when I was doing all those things and what I was putting out there. But there were like deep underlying pieces that I was like, I don't know 1, if this is what I want career-wise. 2, if I feel like this is aligned with my purpose. 3, if I'm like feeling authentic in the way that I'm showing up, even though I have to lie to my followers about this post and whatever. It just started weighing on me really heavily. But yeah, I pulled everything. I spent 8-9 months, I think actually 10 full months off of Instagram. And I wasn't even sure that I really wanted to come back. But like you said, during that time, I mean, I was like soul searching, working really hard, journaled more than I've ever journaled in my life. Was spending a lot of time with family, spending a lot of time with friends that I hadn't seen in a while that like saw me for who I was and made me feel like I could just be myself and there were no expectations. I kind of got used to being in these environments where I had to show up in the way that people expected me to, which like, ew, who the hell wants to do that? So it was kind of recalibrating. And then I started working with a business mentor who, at the core of it just really helped me understand myself better.
Right.
And why I wasn't enjoying what I was doing. Like, why wasn't it authentic? What would be more authentic? And the biggest thing, and I still work with this business mentor, but the biggest thing that I learned during that time was looking at my personality, my strengths, and like what I'm hardwired for, and just do that. Like, I don't have to do all the things. I don't have to be the solopreneur that wears all the hats. Like, I need help. And he really helped me with figuring out, asking the question of who, not how, instead of like, how can I do this? Like, who can help me do this? And who wants to help me do this? And I also just went through this whole chapter of like really determining, like, do I even want to be in this field? Is this a passion that is just mine that I just get to have for myself and my family and my friends, and I get to help people in a close circle? Or is this something that I should be making money off of? Is making money and turning it into this, turning it into a business, ruining it for me? And what does that mean? And I think that I ask myself that question often, especially thinking about Stu and I are planning on having kids soon. And I'm like, do I want to spend my energy giving this to everybody else, or do I need it for myself right now? So It's kind of a continual thing to parse through, and there's no right or wrong. It changes season to season.
So what did you end up doing in terms of like the real like nuts and bolts of how you transitioned your business? So you morphed it into what you are currently running today, and your team and your organization, and providing, group therapy or group coaching, I think and group nutritional coaching and individual one-on-ones. What during that time, during that 10 months where you're rebuilding not only yourself mentally, but also your business physically, what nuts and bolts happened during that time? Where did you decide, or why did you decide to change it into what you're currently running today?
Great question. Biggest thing that I realized is personality-wise on Myers-Briggs, I'm an ENFP, aka I'm all over the fucking place. I'm like multi-passionate, like I can't stick to certain things.
I think I am too.
That's probably why we're such good friends. And I hate deadlines, and like I can't be held down. And if I'm held down, then the creativity dies and I'm miserable. And there's an element of entrepreneurship that gives me this creative outlet to throw a bunch of ideas around. And so I realized like, I'm really good as like the founder of something,
right?
But I'm not always good at carrying everything out to its fullest potential and what I would really actually like to see. So I need help doing that.
You're a visionary, not an implementer.
Yes. Fucking suck at implementation. Like I'm really good at being like, here's where we are. Here's where I'd like to be. I don't know how the hell to build the bridge. Right. So I needed a bridge builder to bring into the team. And I hadn't really ever hired people before. And so I just realized that if I wanted to see this come to fruition, if I wanted to do this in a different way, it needed to be bigger than me. And I can't do everything because I don't have all the skills to do what needs to be done. I'm not organized. I'm not there's so many things that I'm not. And I was like, okay, instead of beating myself up and forcing myself to do it and making myself miserable, I need to find somebody else who loves doing the shit that I hate as much as I love doing the things that I love.
Right.
And so that kind of opened up space to, okay, I'm going to hire someone, which was a whole other entrepreneurial fear of like, how am I going to pay somebody a full-time salary when I don't know if I'm going to be able to make that? But it was kind of this weird sense of trust. And I've heard my dad say this many times of like, you got to spend money to make money. And I just kept telling myself that, like, just trust it. You got to spend money to make money. We'll figure this out. And I knew that my ability to, I on StrengthsFinder of Gallup organization, great book, StrengthsFinder 2.0. You can take a test, figure out what your top 5 strengths are.
I did mine. You want to see mine when we're done?
Let's do it. Right. Well, one of my top strengths is woo, which sounds a little manipulative.
Mine's not, but
yeah, yours the opposite of woo, making people feel skeptical of themselves. But yeah, woo is essentially just making people feel comfortable, confident, relaxed around you. Like I've had people tell me, like, I just make everybody feel comfortable.
Yeah, that ain't me.
Agree.
I might be at the bottom of my DNA on that one.
Yeah, you make people feel a little uncomfortable.
What? Oh, come on.
Not, at first I was intimidated by you.
That's different.
You got like the lawyer look and you're like, what is this guy gonna?
Yeah, but here I am.
Know about me?
Here we are, 7 years later, down to earth. It's a different world now.
It's a different world. World.
Good.
But yeah, I don't know. I learned all this stuff about myself. Long story short, ended up realizing like I got to hire people, some nuts and bolts. I hired an operations manager and an admin. She wears multiple hats at this point, and we're planning on bringing another admin on who's going to kind of pick up some of the slack now that we've grown a little bit. But I brought her on first, and then I brought another nutritionist onto the team because we have so much demand for clients and I couldn't keep up with it. And I just felt like I was constantly drowning. So between the two of them, what we've been able to do is like since I'd gone through the burnout waves, I had no problem handing things off. I think that's the biggest thing that a lot of entrepreneurs are like, I don't trust handing these projects off to these people because they're not going to do it the right way. Like,
no, they're not going to do it your way.
Yeah, get over yourself. Your way might not be the best way. You actually might need to let go of it.
Absolutely.
And have somebody else do it in a better way than you would because you're clearly sucking at it, or it would be doing great. So, a moment of humbling where I was like, shit, okay, this person's way more organized than I am. I'm going to fully let go of what this looks like. And so, our operations manager does a lot of all of our back-end organizational systems. It's just unbelievable what she has created and the ideas that she has and like how excited she gets about shit that I'm like, why are you excited about this? But thank God someone is, because I'm not. So she keeps everything organized. She like holds our life together, holds the business together. And then the nutritionist we have on the team just has like the biggest heart for working with other people. She'll go from like this week, she's got back from being out of the country and literally worked like 8 a.m. to like 5 p.m. back to back clients and like loves it and is energized and lit up about it. And like, it just makes me so happy that I have these awesome people on my team. And I never thought, going through the hardships I went through in early years of entrepreneurship, I never thought that me doing what I loved would create space for other people to like have their dream job and do what they love. And they're like, thank God Cait puts her head on the chopping block, because I don't want to do that. I don't want to find clients. I don't want to be responsible for this, and this, and to have to meet with an attorney and figure everything out. Like, I love that stuff. And so I don't know. I think when you get into solopreneurship, you're thinking about yourself. You're thinking about your happiness. You're thinking about the kind of money that you want to make. You're thinking about the people that you want to help. And it wasn't until I ate shit and stopped working for, 8 to 10 months that I was like, I think I need help. And like, I think that it would be a good thing for me. And it's been really amazing over the last year, over a year now, to watch these other people love what they do, and that I get to like kind of co-create this with them now. And like, they're very much part of our creative process. They have ideas that I didn't have. And the way that I think about it now is like, we kind of went from one brain to 3 brains, right? Like, and the way that I have my business structured is that like, I want their input. I want their ideas, because if we're just going off of what I know, we're limited to the things that we're able to do, things that we're able to accomplish, the ideas that we're going to have. I think some businesses really do themselves a disservice if they just take like person at the top and then you just create minions of yourself. And then you have like one big company functioning off of like just one brain, where you could just collaborate a little bit more, hire out to people who have strengths that you don't have. And then you're working off of multiple brains, multiple ideas. And so kind of a weird analogy, but that's kind of how I think about my company now at this point. Is like, we went from me being overwhelmed, being drained, being burnt out, trying to do everything and doing a bad job. Like, I was doing a bad job. I was procrastinating protocols. I would take like a week to 2 weeks to get shit done, because I was like, I don't feel like getting a prison protocol to them now, and I'm tired. And I just would like not do shit, and I didn't care. Right. Because that's what burnout will do to you. You stop caring about the things that you actually really do care about. Yeah. So anyway.
I mean, you've been very fortunate in organizing your business and operating your business, engaging in influencer marketing, entering into deals and creating opportunities for yourself. It's remarkable, because I have not seen many business owners like you that have been able to avoid major legal issues in their startup phase of their business. There's always something that creeps in that they go, oh my God, or something that they did early on in their business that is now coming back to sort of bite them in the ass now. Yeah. And for you, did you ever, I know you joke about fear. You joke about me trying to scare you and do these things, but
it's going to swallow.
I know, but you're the age of my children. And so for me, I've been more of a mentor to you than a lawyer to you.
Yeah.
And it's been important to me to help educate you about things to be wary of as you grow and scale your business.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the types of things that you've experienced and what you were fearful of and what we did and what you did to sort of make sure that these legal terrors didn't contribute to your anxieties and fears as you grew your business.
Yeah. I mean, I think number one, when I first started, I didn't know that I needed an LLC. I remember the first time we met, I met you at, our friend's place. And I was like, who's this guy? Find out you're an attorney. And I was like, oh my God, I actually have some questions for you. I've been working with some clients on the side on top of working with this person. And I've made some money. Do I need to pay taxes? How does that work? I had no idea. It was just so funny to think about now. And you were like, well, how much money have you taken in?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know, maybe $2,000. And you were like, you need to set up an LLC. Here's the threshold. Here's the rules. And I'm like, there's rules on this stuff? What? Can we meet? Can you please help me? And you were like, okay, sure. We'll meet.
Oh, come on. I was much more receptive.
You're like, you're a friend of my friend. I'll make an exception.
Oh, cool.
Thank God. Thank God someone will help me. But I had looked online on LegalZoom and set up an LLC and do all this stuff. And I didn't know what any of the questions mean. And I liken it to my dad being a financial advisor where I'm like, I don't want to understand all the terms. They're super boring to me. Just tell me what I need to do. And I feel like that's kind of the route that I took with you was what's the bullet points? What's the important shit? Can you walk me through this? And I remember the first thing we did was I came over in this office and we sat down and you helped me set up my LLC. You helped me. You're still on my, I don't even know. It's not like a custodian. What are you?
The registered agent.
Registered agent. Nothing. See, I don't know the terms. Still don't know the terms. It's 7 years in. And I was like, what's that? And you were like, just put me down for that. I'll take care of that.
We'll take care of that. Yeah. Registered agent is the person who will receive process in the event somebody ever wants to sue you.
Yes.
That's what that is. There you go.
Sweet.
See, you learned something.
Cool. Still learning.
Still learning.
Was the biggest one thing. Was the LLC. The other thing that I learned about was certificate of good standing with the state and having to do that every year and getting it done on time.
Periodic report and getting those done. Yep. Keeping everybody appraised that you are still a business in good standing with the state. And in most states, if not all states, most national banks now will not allow you to open up a business bank account unless you have a certificate of good standing for your business. So that's a requirement most times. And nowadays, most banks, everybody I've been dealing with now has, if you're going to open up a new business account, if you're a corporation, you need bylaws. If you're an LLC, you need an operating agreement. And the banks are requiring those to be to be in place before they'll even allow you to open up a business bank account. Yeah. And what I find most people doing under these circumstances is they'll just hop online, they'll go get some generic LLC agreement, or they'll just do a quick Google search and I need an operating agreement, whatever it is, and they'll go and they'll say, oh yeah, this looks good, and they'll sign it. Or them and their business partners will sign it.
But you don't know.
Exactly. They have no clue. They have no understanding as to what this real legal relationship they just got into. Yeah. And
that scares me. Before we even met and you were like, here's things you want to get ahead of just in case. Before you even said that to me, and I don't know if it's because I grew up with a dad who's a financial advisor and there's the weight of the seriousness of some of these laws and rules with things, but I just kind of had that in the back of my head. And, I'm a little bit of a rebel. I'm not 100% of a rule follower, but I also don't want to screw myself. And so I think when I was starting my business, I was just meeting you was total serendipity. I don't think that if you hadn't walked into the office that I was working in, that I would have been I'm starting my business and I need a lawyer. I don't think I would have.
Absolutely have Amber to thank for that.
We do 100%. And and I would say to anybody who's thinking of starting their business, no matter how big or small, you should have a lawyer. You should have somebody where you can have a relationship with them and look at them in the eye and ask questions. And everything is so bio-individual and individualized. My business is very different than any other business that you work with. And so is every other business. And so I think it's been such a great resource and such a gift and such a something that I'm immensely grateful for, that I can be like, hey, Andy, am I going to go to jail if I do this, 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 and this? Can we get breakfast and like chat about
Am I going to get sued?
Am I going to get sued? Am I going to like, if I'm letting this person go, what do I need them to sign so that they can't come back and screw me at some point? Or I'm hiring people and what types of things need to be in my contracts, or
that you're
so many things.
Yeah.
So many things. And like, this kind of goes back to like, I went through this 5 years in, but like, thank God legal stuff wasn't a part of that, because that would have been a whole other weight on me. But I'm so glad that you and I have built a relationship from the beginning, because it has helped me avoid things. I think it's, you mentioned I'm a unique situation. Like, I don't think much of my situation other than it just is what I'm experiencing.
Right.
But you see way more than I do in the, business legal realm. And I honestly think a huge part of that is because we met and you've helped me from day one, and you've asked me important questions, and you've helped me get ahead of anything that would happen. I'd be shocked if something did happen, because we've been on our P's and Q's legally since day one. Maybe you're going to disagree with this, but like, maybe from my perspective, we're like, maybe I didn't need to. Maybe I didn't need to work with a lawyer to set up an LLC. A lot of people don't, but thank God I did.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what a registered agent was.
I always look at the situation like this. When you go get in your car, you have no legal requirement to put on your seatbelt, but you're taking a risk every time you get in your car and you drive without your seatbelt.
Yeah, so you're probably going to put your
So you put your seatbelt on. So what's the harm in hiring a lawyer at the onset of your business and getting good counsel so you can remain safe as you grow? Because the legal issues you're dealing with now are different than they were when you started your business later on. And I'm not suggesting by any means that you're facing legal issues, because you're not. But the point being, when you have, it's more complex. You have employees, you have a lot more clients or customers.
Yep.
You have a lot. Yeah, absolutely. There is more liability. There are insurance issues. And eventually, you're not at this stage yet, but you will be probably sooner than you think. And that is, the people who are with you now are going to want to join with you at some point. Or there are going to be others who you're going to want to team up with and partner up with. Yeah. And you're going to want to share equity, and you're going to want to build a brand and a business together. And those are going to create their own sets of legal issues down the line. And I don't doubt for a moment that you're going to come to me when the issue comes up, and I will coach you through what you need to be aware of so you can grow and be, your growth can be successful.
Yeah.
So as you grow,
100%.
Your legal issues become more prevalent. And, I'm a firm believer in the more you grow, the more people want a piece of you, in both good and bad. Yeah. And it's
usually more bad a little bit later, because that's
unfortunately
what I'm starting to feel
right now, or just in history. I mean, I knew when you grew as an influencer, the invasion of your privacy of people just poking up and, hi, I feel like I know you. Oh, we're best friends. I had breakfast with you the other day as I was watching your video, whatever that kind of, that kind of stuff. And you're like, all right, we're not friends.
Yeah.
And
that's my, at that time, it was like my own doing. It's like, maybe you should have some boundaries with the shit that you share with 40,000 strangers online.
Exactly. Well, but still you do, but that's part of that's part of the authenticity. Yeah. But authenticity doesn't necessarily mean vulnerability, and it also doesn't mean completely exposed.
Yeah.
So
you can oversharing.
That's true too.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way of putting it. All right. So let's move into sort of our closing remarks here. Could you tell everyone here that what are 3 ways how a lawyer has helped you in your business?
Okay. All right.
I mean, this is a legal podcast after all.
I'm just laughing at your cheeky smile. Tell me 3 ways.
Tell me how awesome I am in 3 words.
Yeah. 3 things. Okay. I feel like I just got put in the box to come up with 3.
Hey, listen, I sent you the show notes ahead of time. This is your own doing at this point.
I like to do things on the fly.
All right, fair enough.
3 major things. I mean, I think number 1, we've kind of already said this. There's questions that you're inevitably going to have as a business owner, no matter how big or small your business is, that you just don't know. And like I mentioned, through this 10 months that I took a break, like, you realize that you need help, that you don't know everything. And if you're a solopreneur for an extended period of time, things get more complex. You have more projects, you have more clients, you have more sales, you have more systems, you have more of everything. And it's easy to get in the weeds on that. And like you've already mentioned, my legal outlook and needs have changed over the last 6 to 7 years. Thank God it hasn't stayed the same. Things have grown.
Yep.
But I'm not going to take it upon myself to learn Colorado state law and know all of the terms and do all of that shit. I would rather pay you for that time so that you can do what you do best and I can keep doing what I do best and you can help me. So I think that's been the biggest thing is like having your help in your own lane and I stay in my lane and we help each other be better over time. Like that's been a huge gift. That's kind of like, I guess we'll say that's the big umbrella of things that you've helped me with because it's not super specific, but I don't think that I would have been as confident in the things that I'm doing if I didn't have you alongside me, helping me with everything along the way.
Right.
I mean, I think the other thing too is just having a resource to ask questions. I kind of alluded to that a second ago, but there's so many times where I'm like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this new thing in my business and like what legal things do I need to keep in mind? I wouldn't have even been thinking that thought if I didn't know you and we hadn't had the relationship that we have built over the years.
Right.
And I also wouldn't have you as a resource to give me the answer to that question where like, last time we got breakfast, I was like, this is just a small question. It's not going to be a big thing. And
an hour and a half later.
Yes. And I'm like, shit. And I'm like, I got to get all these contracts together. And I'm like, I had no idea that there were all these things involved. So I think that's been a huge help is helping me legally grow intentionally, having a resource. I don't know, practically speaking, like I didn't know how to set up an LLC, help me set up an LLC. That's a huge thing. Contracts for employees. So many people just go online and find something and are like, cool.
For employees or even independent contractors and properly classifying those people in your business.
Yeah, which we're working on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge thing. Or like in letting someone go, it was like, crap, well, I only had a verbal contract with this person. Does a verbal contract hold in law or do we have something written or am I like, free to do whatever I want because we never signed anything together and what does that look like? And there's nuance to those things that I didn't know. So, I mean, I think biggest things you've helped me with, I mean, there's so many. I feel like I'm just rambling at this point now, but like setting up my LLC, answering legal questions, helping me with contracts, and also just like covering my ass. I mean, I think you give me the sense of confidence in what I'm doing in my business.
A bonus way.
A what?
Bonus number 4. As for 3, and you're even 4.
I'm just rambling the things that are coming to my mind.
All right, good. No, it's all great.
3 felt like a box, so I'll just give you all the things.
All right, fair enough.
But you give me confidence that like I'm doing business in a way that is like good for me, good for my clients. I'm in good legal standing. I'm not doing anything wrong. I can feel good about myself and I can rest easy at night. As an entrepreneur, with all the other things that are running through my mind, the legal stuff is something I don't have to worry about.
Right.
Which is huge.
Well, that's all awesome. All right. So in closing, tell the listeners, please, where can people find out more about you? Where can they find you online? Where can they learn more about your business?
Yes. I'm on Instagram at whatcait8. It's CAIT for Kate, short for Caitlin. You can also find me at CaitCrowell.com. We've gone through a little bit of rebranding, so it's just kind of all over the place. You can look at Andy's show notes for links if you're confused. But my personal page is What Cait8. Blog used to be What Cait8. We've rebranded to just Cait Crowell. We're in the middle of rebranding to Crowell & Co. So again, multiple iterations of the business, which is probably another thing we need to talk about legally.
It's never ending with you two.
Don't make me stay after this. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, we're going to sit down.
Yeah. Website is Cait Crowell, CaitCrowell.com. And we also have a Crowell & Co. Instagram page, which is our company page for all nutrition things.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Kate.
Yes.
Always a pleasure seeing you.
Thanks for having me.
And this is Andy Contaguglia and Kate, not Caitlin Crowell, reminding you to don't skip the legal.
Don't skip the legal.
Don't skip the legal. Have a great day. Thank you for listening to the Don't Skip the Legal podcast. I'm your host, Andy Contaguglia. I hope you enjoyed our time together and this great opportunity to peek behind the business door and examine the legal lessons in business. If you're keen to hear how these lessons can be applied in the real world, well, join us next week for another episode where you can listen in to another business success story. As always, you can head over to contaguglia.com/podcast to sign up to our email list, as well as check out all the links and resources in our show notes. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from me, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at AJCESQ. Thanks again. This is Andy Contaguglia reminding you to don't skip the legal. Good luck. The legal information contained in this podcast is intended for general informational and entertainment purposes only. It should only be used as a starting point for addressing your specific legal issue. The legal information I talk about does not create an attorney-client relationship between you and me. This podcast is not a substitute for an in-person or telephonic consultation with a lawyer who is licensed to practice in your jurisdiction about your specific legal issue, and you should not rely on this legal information for those purposes. You understand that questions and answers or other information contained in this podcast are not confidential and are not subject to attorney-client privilege. I am not providing you a legal service. Every legal case is different, and past performance is not indicative of future results. Please consult your own attorney.